more thing at all. It's 18 minutes to the top of the hour here at the Super Morning Show. Enjoy 99.7 FM. So, I mean, we were all in school, weren't we? This is a conversation that involves you if you've been to university, if you have children or siblings who have been to university, or will go to the university or are in the university, or if you are concerned about how the products of our university system are what will determine the future of our country. Education really is the key, isn't it? So we need to look at how our universities are funded, how our universities are managed, how our universities are supervised. Now, prior to this, what has happened is that all the universities have had their individual laws that govern them. But government has drafted the Public Universities Bill. It's just a draft of the Public Universities Bill 2019 to, among other things, determine how public universities will be managed, financed, and supervised. Some lecturers have opposed sections of this law, specifically from sections 5 through 12, because they say it will enable governments to interfere in the running of the university. But how much control should government have in a university? With the recent controversies in KNUST and UEW, should the universities be under stricter executive supervision, or will it harm academic freedom? That's the conversation we are having today. We will have Professor Appiagyei Etua on the phone lines. We'll also be speaking to the Ministry of Education. Raymond Akwa is here. Raymond Akwa is a former member of the University of Ghana Convocation. Did I get it right? Convocation. Okay, but you're a former member of the University of Ghana's SRC leadership. Yes. Okay, thank you very much for that correction. And he's very, very well versed in matters that have to do with the leadership and the architecture of university leadership in the country. Of course, Enimwa is here. Malik is also here. Malik will be running us through the history of academic freedom in the country and some of older governments' attempts to interfere, if I can use that expression, in the academic freedom or in the freedom of the universities. And we'll situate today's conversation well, and you'll understand better as we go along. But text messages are brought to you by Afrodan. You're back on /you a lifetime Glyco Critical Illness Plan GSIP. Glyco, we cushion you for life, and Afrodan is offering you today the most comfortable chair in the world, the Nightingale Extreme Comfort Chair, with over 10 thoughtfully engineered features, especially customized for your health and comfort. Working has never had it this good. So go to Afrodan on the first floor of the Swansea Shopping Arcade and feel this chair. You'll be amazed. I get the Glyco Critical Illness Plan GSIP, which has been designed to alleviate some of the financial burdens critical illnesses pose on loved ones and family. Speak to Glyco Life today for your GSIP policy on 020-2222-113 or dial Star Glyco on your Star phone app, available on Android and iOS. Glyco Life, we cushion you for life. All right, so it's 15 minutes to the top of the hour. Raymond, what are we looking at?
So the Public Universities Bill is a bill that government is seeking to get Parliament to pass so that it will govern the entire space. Of course, government says that the right to higher education, subject to availability of resources, is a constitutional right to be observed by the government. The purpose of this particular bill is to provide for the procedure for the establishment of public universities, principles of management of these public universities, and the legal status of the public universities. Indeed, it also talks about the procedure for financing public universities and administration and supervision of the activities of the public universities and related matters. So briefly, Clause 1 to 4 deals with the establishment of the public university, and the first clause deals with establishing public university as a corporate entity with the aim of providing higher education, disseminating knowledge, and undertaking research and fostering relationships outside the university in accordance with the principles specified in Clause 2. In fact, Clause 5 to 12 deals with the governance of a university in Ghana, and that's where many of the contentions are. Because 5, for example, provides for a university council as the governing body of a public university. A council, according to that particular provision, shall consist of 9 persons, including a chairperson nominated by the president. And indeed, the current existing University of Ghana Council is double the number that's been put here. What this bill will do, which is contentious under this one, is that even the 9, the people who are appointed by government will predominate that particular council.
How many are being appointed by government?
So more than half. Yes, So more than half is supposed to be appointed by government. Of course, I mean, to be fair, other institutions will also make appointments in this case. The various existing, including students' bodies, the groups that are already appointed in the, schools already. One, what government sought to do in KNUST and couldn't do? You recall that? Set aside.
So what did government seek to do? Let's be specific. What did government seek to do?
Government wants to be in the position to set up an interim board at any point in time to be in charge of investment when there's a problem.
Like it's tried to do in KNUST.
Yes, that's the issue in this particular case. That's all the other issues that's very contentious.
Let's remind ourselves, Raymond, before you go on, let's remind ourselves of what happened when government made that suggestion or when government made that announcement with the KNUST saga. We had some professional bodies within the school striking.
Yes, and finally, you had to take the intervention of the 2-4 to virtually reverse that particular decision by government, bring back the status quo, then ensure that there's peace on the campus as it happened there. Indeed, there were even complaints from the institutional bodies that how do you get us represented by people but we don't know? How do you seek to appoint representatives for groups that are, as of law, supposed to have their representatives on the board? Now, two key issues are important. One, the council's membership being reduced from 17 to 9. That's Investor Ghana's example in this case. And government appointing majority. And two, a centralized admission body. A form of computer selection and placement system like happens at the senior high school level and all of that. And one of the questions being raised quickly is that what will be the role of the University's admissions board when you have a computerized, what they call a selection board? Because the admissions board considers a set criteria for admission. Two, it determines cutoff points for program by program. And even when affirmative action is an important policy, like has happened in University of Ghana for a long time, it determines for which level will the affirmative action apply. What we have seen with our computerized system is what we know down there at the senior high school level. Will they fit into the similar system? Would you want to say that the cutoff point for Lagos should be the same cutoff point as in for, let's say, a course like pharmacy? Should be the same cutoff point for a student going to UDS. That's if they do a pharmacy program in that particular school. So that's one of the concerns being raised in this particular case. Now, the question is, why are we revising downwards the number of council members in this case? Is it to allow for executive excessive control over the universities? Because the current proposal will allow government appointees have single majority, which will severely compromise academic freedom. And what happened on the KNUST campus is what is supposed to be the wake-up call in this case. Again, the centralized admission platform, the operationalization of this particular centralized admission platform, what does it mean? How does it get to improve the education at the tertiary level? Especially when the claim has been that, do you know, up to 2016, we virtually made Investor Ghana take it off the subvention institutions because government's opinion was that it has grown its own wings properly, can take off its finances, and did not need it. You know that long time ago, during Haruna Iddrisu time, the argument was that government was going to pay 70% of the fees. Then the students and the rest of us in this country will contribute and take care of the rest. Now, investors have complained that we never had 70% coming in ever. So it was along the line supposed to be revised. So when the schools are gaining increasing autonomy when it comes to finance, to the point that you are considering making them completely independent of your finances as a state, why are you interested in piling up more people onto its board? Now, do you know why that's important? We have had a checkered history to do with how investors are managed and how people seek to influence.
You know what's Raymond? Let's have Dr. P.J. come in. Okay. Let's bring in Dr. P.J. He has joined us on the line. He's a lecturer, and he's quite opposed to some sections of this bill, if I can use that expression. Doc, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's Professor P.J. Tuado.
Thank you. Thanks for the correction. In the first place, what are your challenges specifically with this new draft?
It has to do with the institutional autonomy of the university. As things stand now, on paper, it looks as if the institutional autonomy of the university is guaranteed. But in practice, looking at other provisions of the bill, if you look at it in a holistic context, there is a serious compromising of the independence of the university. The university should have the freedom to manage its own affairs to a very large extent. It is not to say that the government doesn't have any role at all to play in regulating the university. But if you look at the, for example, the institutional autonomy as it stands now, as well as governance within the university, there are some challenges there as we find in the present bill. If I can give some examples. For example, We're talking about the University Council. The council is to be made up of the Vice Chancellor, the Chancellor, and 4 persons appointed by the government, and a union from the university on a rotational basis, and there's somebody from the NCT, that's the National Commission on Special Education. This is a limited number of 9 persons. And even when you look at the 9, the majority are going to be appointed by the government. And so at the end of the day, if we have reps who do the bidding of the government, it's going to seriously compromise the independence of the university. And even more worrying is the fact that the government reserves to itself the power to dissolve the council in case of emergency. Emergency is not defined, whether it's emergency as to national emergency or emergency on the campus, just as what happened at KNUST, we don't know. And for the government to set up an interim council, this council is not defined. We don't know who is going to be on this board and so on, or on this council that we are talking about. So it's a worrying trend. Then the issue of the chairperson of the university, of the council, is also problematic. If you look at certain provisions of the Constitution, Article 70 doesn't give the president the power to appoint the chairperson of the council, because the kind of bodies that are where the government is giving the power to appoint under Article 70 doesn't include the university. The university is not part of that arrangement. So it looks as if they are pushing its way into providing fixing that provision there. It's originally in the University of Ghana Constitution as it is, but a careful reading of the Constitution doesn't give that power to the president to do that. Then the Chancellor also, at least in the context of the University of Ghana statute, he or she is appointed by an electoral college. It is not the president it's not the council that does that appointment. So if the council, which is already to be populated by a majority of government representatives, is to appoint the chancellor, again, you see where we are going towards. And so that is a problem on its own.
So, Prof.
Yes.
No, you finish up, please. You were saying that apart from these, there's another one?
Yeah, there are other issues which are of concern. For example, the Minister of Education is given some prominent role to play in regulating the affairs of the university. There are certain activities which would need his formal consent before it can be endorsed. And he's given the powers to make regulations, even though under the University of Ghana statute, for example, it is the academic board that is supposed to make those regulations. Then the law is also talking about statutes. Statutes are something like subsidiary regulations that the university is supposed to use to regulate certain activities on the campuses. The statute is derived from the Act, and normally it is the university through the council that does this. But here the power is given to the NCT, the National Commission on Special Education, to prepare a harmonized statute that all the universities are to agree to, and which will have to be endorsed by the Minister of Education and so on. So these are some of the worrying trends we see in the current bill, which at the end of the day is going to compromise academic freedom on the campus.
Before we come to the details of what your concerns are, I've seen a response from the Public Relations Officer of the Education Ministry, Echo Vincent Asifwa, who says that this is a draft and the ministry is requesting the input of the academic community like yourself. So this should not be considered as an action that the government has taken.
Yes, We know that. We know there's a bill, and a bill, there has to be memorandum submitted. Sometimes the committee, parliamentary committee in charge of that bill will do nationwide, go to various places, in this case the universities, to consult and so on. However, under normal circumstances, there should be some involvement, at least with the management of the universities, at the word go. And also the fact that there is some fundamental deviation from the existing norm. You know, in every tradition, in every institution, there are some traditions and customs and so on, which have been held sacrosanct for some time. So to see a total change from these rules and regulations is a bit of a concern. So we are hoping that, especially also considering the fact that within the Constitution, for the first time in our constitutional history, the Constitution recognizes academic freedom in the Constitution. And so for that matter, government should be particularly careful in trying to not to interfere in the academic freedom of the universities. Universities in general, the academic freedom within the universities are measured in line with the democratic credentials of a country. And so generally, where you see a higher status or record of a democratic credentials of a country, you will see a comparable level of respect for academic freedom in its tertiary institutions. But here, and that has been the trend with Ghana until we have this bill. This bill rather brings the level of academic freedom down to the extent that there's an imbalance between our democratic record or credentials and to that of the new academic freedom bill.
But respectfully, Prof, we can't call it a bill yet. It's just a draft.
No, it's a bill. The draft, what we have seen is a bill. It's a bill. So that is what it is.
Okay, so let's that's a matter of words. I would take, Prof, the Joy Business Minutes now. I'll ask you to just hold on for just a minute. We'll take the Joy Business Minutes. When we come back, then we'll come back and deal with these issues. Stay with us.
Daryl and Karen with the Joy Business Minute.
Good morning, everyone.
Cabinet has given approval to the request by the Ministry of Communications to migrate all public sector workers to a dedicated state email domain for official business. The move forms part of efforts to safeguard the critical infrastructure of government against cyber attacks.
The National Disaster Management Organization, NATMO, insists that Ghana has a plan in place to reduce risks associated with disasters. According to NATMO, government is committed to ensuring that Ghana is adequately prepared for any climate disaster, hence signing on to the African Risk Capacity Agency.
The Minister for Railways says government is likely to own about 30% shares in the $2.2 billion Eastern Railway Line project. The 340-kilometer rail line will run from Tema through Accra, Koforidua, then end in Kumasi.
And Nissan shareholders have voted to oust the company's former boss, Carlos Ghosn, from its board. The decision to sever ties with Mr. Ghosn was made at an extraordinary shareholders meeting held on Monday.
Ghosn is gone.
So it appears.
And we're back here on the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. My name is Daniel Daze. Prof. Sir Appiah here is with us on the phone lines. We are discussing the Public Universities Draft Bill, which has been sent to some of these institutions to take input by government. And Mr. Prof is making his input here on the show. He has pointed at a number of provisions being made within that bill that he says threaten academic freedom. For those who may not know, how much influence does the council have in the day-to-day administration of the school's activities? And how would governments having a majority membership change how the school is being run, Prof?
Well, the council is the governing body of the university. So it wields a lot of powers in terms of, for example, appointments, in terms of making financial commitments of the university, getting into contract relations with other entities, and so on. It's the council that is in charge of that. And so if that body is controlled or has majority government reps in there. It compromises the freedom of the university to do the things the way it wants to do it. And I think it's important to emphasize why the university needs academic freedom. It is to ensure that the university will have that freedom, which will facilitate research, teaching, learning, and so on within the university environment, because the university is a space where new research findings come out, which challenges orthodoxy and existing knowledge, and challenges governmental authority and so on, based on the research that comes out, which will help move the country forward. And so that is why traditionally, conventionally, the university is given that space and freedom to do what it's supposed to do. And the university, particularly in the African context, the academics also play a role in the larger society. What transpires at the university, the freedom it enjoys there, doesn't remain within the confines of the university. It is transported out, and teachers and staff use the opportunity to influence decision-making, influence and expand the democratic space in the country, and so on. So the importance of academic freedom, apart from its benefit to the university itself, has a larger benefit for the country as a whole.
Okay, so what you're telling us, if I'm understanding what you're saying clearly, is that when it comes down to from things as mundane as promotions to appointments to bidding for contracts and awarding same, the council has influence on this.
It does, yes.
Okay, so that's it. So it does not operate, for instance, like the board of a company where the CEO and the management of the company are doing day-to-day administration, and the board simply approves what the plans are.
No, the council, when it makes the decisions, and then it goes to university management to implement them.
Okay, let's come, for instance, to the case of University of Education Winneba, where at the University of Education Winneba, some contracts were awarded and it was under contention as to whether or not the Vice-Chancellor had the authority to award these very, very large contracts, if I can say, very, very cash-intensive contracts. How would a decision like this affect that particular situation?
Yeah, in such a situation, it is the council that should approve the contract. Now, that is within the domain of the council. It is the university management that will do the day-to-day negotiations and so on. But when they have arrived at a conclusion that we want to enter into this contract, it has to go to the university council for approval before the contract can be executed.
Okay, so if the council, for instance, belongs to a certain political party, they can make a decision not to award a contract to someone because the person is not with them.
It's possible.
Okay, Prof, you have heard what the ministry has said, that this is at a consultation and they are making input, what have you. Officially, have you or any of your colleagues who have questions with this contacted the ministry and made these known to them?
I will not be able to answer that question. It will be up to the executives of UTAG to tell. But from the little information I have from some executives, they got a copy of this bill just about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so based on that, I'm not sure they have had the chance to glean the context, the contents of the bill, and to come to a position that this is how we want to approach it with the government.
For those who are listening right now, who are saying that, well, this is a matter of university lecturers and them having a problem with government, what would you say to them? What's the impact of this decision outside the walls of your average public university?
The university is not an island on its own. The university promotes town-gown relationship, and so whatever happens at the university has a larger impact on the larger society. So, for example, I made the point that the freedom that is enjoyed on the university campus enables the university staff and so on to share that space and that information with the rest of the society. It is the university that comes out with that research and comes out with new ways of doing things. to promote cocoa production or whatever, to promote human rights and so on. So if the university is stifled and disabled from performing that role, in the end it affects the larger society. And it also have an impact on the democratic credentials of the countries, because if at the end of a particular year, the UN or some NGO or US State Department, whatever, is assessing the democratic record of a country, it is going to take into account how it respects the university space in each of the both public and private universities. So for that matter, whatever the bill has in mind, if it is good, it's going to be for the good of the whole country. If it is bad, it's also going to affect the country as a whole, one way or the other.
But Prof, what would you say to those who would say that government does indeed have to have a greater say in how the university administers its affairs? I'll take the example, for instance, of the president having the authority to dissolve the university council. This was something that was demanded for by a section of the students' population. During the KNUST saga, and it was opposed heavily by some of the professional unions. So if the president had this power, some would say that then they would be able to intervene in a proper manner when things are going haywire.
I think we already have certain structures, certain mechanisms, and even traditions and customs in place. And these have been used over the years to deal with differences between government and university or disturbances on the university campuses. So for the government to have the power to dissolve the council, which is at the center of university governance, is an intrusion on the university space. So in that sense, it will lead to compromising the institutional autonomy of these public universities, and that wouldn't bode well for the well-being of university management and for the greater good of the university.
Thank you very much, Professor Kojo Appiagyei Tia. He's a lecturer at the School of Law at the University of Ghana. He teaches public international law and international human rights law. Malik Abbas Dabo is here. Raymond Akwa is here. It's 10 minutes past 9 here on the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. So in our conversation with Prof. Appiagyei Tia, he has let us know these three key things. Number one, this threatens the academic freedom of the university. The University Council does not work like a board of a university, of a company. The University Council makes decisions for the Vice-Chancellor to implement. These decisions come down to as low as persons who can get contracts and who can be promoted. So they are very, very nitty-gritty day-to-day decisions. That will be indirectly influenced by government appointees, because here's the case where government will have a majority membership on the council. He goes ahead to say that apart from this, there are a number of other concerns that they have with these with the draft bill. We didn't have time to go through everything, but the summary of what he was saying is that there's a threat to the academic freedom. And I mean, imagine how government is now given the power. I mean, government appointees are now given the power to decide who gets contracts in the university. That alone should tell you where we are going. Raymond Akwa and Malik Abbas Dabo are here. I'm going to pick their thoughts very quickly. Raymond, before we went to Prof, you were telling us what has happened in the past.
Okay, so, I mean, these things came to mind firstly. You know that Professor K. Buzia was teaching at the Sociology Department of the University of Ghana, even at the time that before he transitioned fully into politics. When Nkrumah in 1949 had become Prime Minister, he was still teaching at the school, the school that actually made Nkrumah the Chancellor of the school. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Now, assuming K. Buzia, who was a huge critic of the Nkrumah government and one of the leading opposition members, teaching in a school and expressing opinions, now predominated in this council by people who are in government in this particular case. How do you think it's going to be like? Would he have progressed as he was supposed to be? Let's fast forward to one other huge critic, of the then Rawlings administration. If you do recall, the breaking the culture of silence was Professor Albert Aduboahene. Professor Aduboahene was at the history department of the University of Ghana, way back from 1959 straight down to 1990. Look at the periods that he was teaching. these are periods that virtually all the despotic military rulers were there. Assuming they were directly in charge of the universities in those days and determine appointments and promotion, all of these, would you think that he had the lassity to speak the things that he could say? My last example is the current Minister of State in charge of tertiary education, Professor Kwesi Yankah, is a man who spoken his mind in several forms.
But
through the Legon Observer and all of this.
He was known more as in his times in Central University. But I mean, when he was in Central.
No. The history of Professor Kwesi Yankah was at the University of Ghana, was as Pro-Vice Chancellor, was as Dean of Students of the University, was as one of the editors of the Legon Observer in this particular case. And how strong and vibrant commentary in that particular paper was, assuming government could just control the council and say, this guy is even outliving his purpose on campus. We no longer need a teacher in English or literature or any of the related areas in this capacity. So we want him out of the place. The fear is that throughout history, and when Professor John Collins came to the University of Ghana, he said one thing that ought to be guarded fully for it to reflect that kind of standards that University of London exposed, because the University of London was used to set up accreditation for this particular university, University of Ghana, was that you guard jealously academic freedoms, even institutional control, so that you can be respected across the world. We can't roll back that particular success.
Okay, Raymond Akwade, Malik is also here. We would peruse a bit more some of these thoughts on this subject when we come back. But please send in your comments on 0244 340 437. Is this indeed a threat on academic freedom, or it's much ado about nothing? Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The world is a very special place, filled with so many special moments. Enjoy special food, meet special people, and visit special sites. With so many special destinations to explore, your journey can be special too. With Emirates, wait for it, special fares. Book by 9th April for travel until 30th September 2019. Visit emirates.com/gh. Conditions apply. Fly Emirates. Fly better.
Easter is such a wonderful time of the year. As in, by the time I'm done with this ad, you would have learned one thing and one thing only. That is, the brand Samsung has you in mind this Easter, and they plan on making it special for you with great discounts and gifts. So anytime you hear Samsung has Easter gifts, like 32-inch satellite TV going for 999 Ghana cedis, a washing machine for 949 Ghana cedis, then you should visit any Samsung brand store near you or authorized reseller. Terms and conditions apply. Happy Easter from Samsung.
No idea how long I've been waiting for the season of giving. Wow,
Yeah.
Shandonia Garden is massive. Hey, what's that over there?
It's a plant tennis court, swimming pool, and a gym coming soon.
And the houses, unique in their own way.
Okay, darling, wait till you see ours.
What? Wait.
Now tell me, what do you think?
Oh, just so serene. Thank you. I love you.
Visit our luxurious gated community at Shandonia Garden off the Tema Highway. Our lands are fully titled and litigation free with flexible payment plans you can afford. So let us bring you to Shandonia Gardens, where your dream lands. Contact us today on 0302 732529 and 0302 765436 or visit us at shandoniaproperties.com.
Malaria takes lives. Insecticide-treated bed nets help prevent mosquito bites that can cause malaria. The NetLife campaign is all about giving you more variety of insecticide-treated bed nets of different shapes and sizes that bear the quality seal of approval. Look out for it. Buy insecticide-treated bed nets of your preferred choice, now available in pharmacies and supermarkets near you. So go on, enjoy protection, comfort and style with nets that fit your lifestyle. The NetLife. My net, my life, my choice. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Welcome to South Africa, your own personal playground.
Welcome to the Cape Winelands.
Welcome to Johannesburg.
Welcome to Shaka Marine.
Rainbow.
Welcome to Canal Walk.
Welcome to the Nelson Mandela Capture Site.
Welcome to
the Cape Town Jazz Festival.
Welcome to the Midlands.
Welcome to Maboneng. Welcome to East London. Welcome to God's Window.
With 54 million welcoming South Africans, all eager to make your holiday that much more inviting, allow us to indulge you with all our favorite sights and sounds. Visit southafrica.net to discover more. South Africa, inspiring new ways.
We interrupt this program to bring you breaking news. No expiry demonstrations have broken out all across the country. Ghanaians are demanding the right to use their data for as long as they want.
No expiry! No expiry!
In an effort to appease the situation, Airtel Tigo has scrapped data expiry. Our reporter Abna is on the ground.
What do you think about Airtel Tigo's new data bundle?
What is mine should be mine for as long as I want.
What about you, sir?
Oh, now with big time data bundles, we can browse, sir.
Airtel Tigo says, haha, their data doesn't expire. Dial *111# today and get big time data so you can browse only on Airtel Tigo.
Picture this: beaches with red, black and white pebbles, stunning sunset views and whitewashed houses. That is what you see when you picture the perfect Greek island, Santorini. And guess what? Adansi Travels and Joy 99.7 FM is giving you an opportunity of a lifetime to experience Santorini, which has been voted one of the most beautiful islands in the world. Join me, Araba Kumsin, for the 8th edition of the Discover the World Tour series from the 21st to the 31st May 2019. You'll not only discover Santorini, but also get to see and feel Athens, the historical capital of Europe. And that's not all. We'll also have a 4-night stopover in Istanbul, where you'll have fun at the Vialand theme park and a guided shopping tour to bring home the best goodies of Europe. The best part of this is it's so affordable. It's only $2,990 per person, and this covers return flights, accommodation, visa support, meals, tours, and so much more. Visit www.adancytravels.com to register or pick a form at the Joy FM front desk. Call Adansi Travels now at 055-631-0404 or 024-360-6648 to book. Give yourself that well-needed break and join me as we discover Greece and Turkey. It's gonna be a holiday!
Since inception, almost 100% of Ashesi University students have found jobs, started businesses, or gone on to graduate school within 6 months of graduation. From Accra to Nairobi, London to New York, Ashesi graduates are noticed and they are leading successful careers. If you dream of a rewarding life and career, an Ashesi education prepares you for just that. Learn more about applying to Ashesi at www.ashesi.edu.gh. Remember, admission is ongoing.
The world is a very special place, filled with so many special moments. Enjoy special food, meet special people, and visit special sites. With so many special destinations to explore, your journey can be special too. With Emirates, wait for it, special fares. Book by 9th April for travel until 30th September 2019. Visit emirates.com/gh. Conditions apply. Fly Emirates. Fly better.
Yeah, Tita Swamana for full with Nasco appliances this Easter. This one, dear, follow. I know one talk chow. If you want your Easter to be super special, just visit any Nasco showroom or authorized dealer store across the country and grab the Nasco 32-inch TV, still for 699 Ghana cedis. No fluctuations. 32-inch smart TV for 899 Ghana cedis. Inverter AC starting from 1,799 Ghana cedis. Double door fridge from 729 Ghana cedis and gas cooker for 799 Ghana cedis. To even make it more pop. We are topping up with special gifts when you make these purchases. Easter Papa Fano Fala Nasco. Bring home happiness. T's and C's apply.
Bring home happiness.
Coffee
coffee in your cup, and Joy on the set, the Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy 99.7 FM.
Twenty-two minutes past 9 here on the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. My name is Daniel Dazi here in the studio with Malik Abbas Dabu and Raymond Akwa. We just spoke with Prof. Kojo Apieje Etia. He's a lecturer at the Ghana School of Law at the University of Ghana School of Law. And he teaches public international law and international human rights law. He was commenting on the draft public universities bill that has been sent to a number of lecturer unions and a number of public universities for them to make their input. His input is that there are some sections of this law that would constitute an attack on academic freedom, particularly handing over the power to make promotions, hire and fire, award contracts to government appointees, literally. This is how they describe it. We are discussing this a bit further. We want to take your thoughts on that in the issue we were discussing earlier, which is the reigns. 03032216541. That's the phone line. 0244340-437. Before we get there, it's a super duper deal in the Melcom Best Buy promotion. Enjoy amazing cracking deals on selected supermarket brands like Sun Magic, Tintal, Beer, Rexona, Crest, Camel, Dettol, Dove, Amborg, even Frital, Geisha, Heinz, Key Soap, and a number of others. Terms and conditions apply. Melcom Best Buy promotion. Super duper deals always. Melcom, where Ghana shops. Now, Kingdom Books Stationery now offers a 30-day credit facility with no interest charge. We deliver free within Accra, Tema, and surrounding towns. Call us on 0302-764-101 or 762-307 or visit kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited, your number one stop shop for all office essentials, stationery and furniture. By now, you may have heard that Barclays Bank's parent company has changed its name to Absa Group Limited. But what do you really know about Barclays' parent company, Absa? Well, Absa is a Pan-African bank operating in 12 countries in Africa, including Ghana. Absa is one of the largest listed companies on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange with over 42,000 committed employees, all ready to serve you. Remember, Absa is proudly serving you in Ghana as Barclays. Welcome to Absa Group Limited. Let me come straight to Malik Dabu now. Malik, you've been listening in on the conversation. Why should it be a matter of concern to us?
I think that the universities and the academic freedoms that obtain there remain the last standing bulwark of our freedoms as a people in an ever-increasing partisan society and country. Having institutions where academic freedom is absolutely guaranteed is absolutely necessary. And Raymond listed some of the things that happened. In 1988, Professor Edu Boahene delivered that lecture, the first lecture, The History of Ghana from 1972 to 1987. And he made very, very critical commentary on the PNDC at the time. And
a military junta, actually.
Absolutely. And he did that in the sanctity of the university. And nothing happened to him because there was a recognition, even by a military regime, that the universities are untouchable. That lecture broke the culture of silence. And then subsequently, there were a series of other lectures and the publications of the Legon Observer. All of those things contributed to deepening our sense and responsibility as a people. Now, but for the fact that they were insulated from any intervention by any government, regardless of whatever motivation they may have, they may not have been able to say the things that they said, to engage in the lectures, and to write the things that they wrote. The last time we had a discussion, I quoted a book written by Professor Michael Quay, who was head of Political Science Department, University of Ghana.
For 10 good years.
Absolutely.
Very critical of government even within the period.
He used to write very critical things about the government at the time because he enjoyed academic freedom. Now, if we are not careful and we get to a stage where the partisanship has moved away from the streets into the precincts of the university, I think that represents a danger for every one of us. Remember P.A.V. Ansah and his writings. Take the compilation of his essays and his articles published then by the Chronicle newspaper and other newspapers, and read about the things that he said about the government. Today, I wonder anyone in any public institution, apart from the universities, any public institution, if anyone dares write those things about a government, I wonder what would happen to you. But he enjoyed academic freedom and he exercised it. He exercises today. Samson Lada Anyanenu will tell you that when he sits on Newsfile, he's motivated by the writings of P.A.V. Ansah and the courage that the man demonstrated in those writings. He enjoyed academic freedom. We cannot do anything that will amount to taking away those freedoms, because we know in this country there are institutions that are supposed to be insulated, but they are not. The National Media Commission is supposed to protect persons who are appointed to manage the state-owned media. We know attempts that have been made by various governments to make interventions in who manages those state-owned media. And sometimes you actually have persons who are appointed into boards trying to meddle in the management of the state-owned media. I am not sure that there is any justification to want to have government's heavy-handedness in the management of universities.
Just a moment, Malik. We've been joined on the phone lines by Echo Vincent Asifa, his communications director at the Education Ministry, and he joins us on the phone lines to answer questions of why the ministry is seeking to go this way. Good morning, Echo.
Good morning, my brother Daniel. How are you?
I am blessed. Why is the ministry changing some parts of how public universities are run?
Well, let me say a very good morning to your cherished listeners. Daniel, first and foremost, let me indicate that before we took over the reins of the administration in 2017, one of the critical things that we realized that the ministry will have to do is how we can harmonize the regulations of our universities as far as its governance is concerned. Put differently, we realize that the laws governing our universities seem to be outmoded. And for that matter, we should be able to find a way that we can make the laws that regulate our universities one that is worthy of a 21st century law. You can't be in KNUST where the laws and the regulations that regulate you, KNUST, is different from University of Ghana. And University of Ghana is also different from UMaT. And so if, for example, in KNUST, an associate professor needs about 8 to 9 papers to be able to publish before you can be given or you can be allowed to be an associate professor, it might not be the same in University of Ghana. University of Ghana, maybe you may need about 20 papers. That is why we felt that for the past 1 year, 5 months, we had to put in a lot of work to bring out a draft bill that will harmonize our regulations and the laws that governs the public universities. Let me also indicate that it is not because of anything that happened in any university. That is why we are bringing this particular draft. We have brought this draft, and by so doing, we have tried as much as possible to make every university be aware of the content of the draft bill so that those universities or all those public universities would be able to make inputs before it is sent to Parliament. We are not enjoined by any law or whatsoever to have made the universities aware, but out of good practice, out of respect, humility, and for that matter, because we know that the implementers of the real bill will be the universities, we sent it to them even before the Parliamentary Select Committee of Parliament, as far as education is concerned, will have to even work on it. So it is a bill that is going to ensure that the structure, the governance, how a public university is established, how a public university is financed, all these things will be done in such a way that when you go to KNUST, the same thing you're going to find there That same thing will be found also in University of Ghana. That same thing will also be found in UMAT. That same thing will be found in UHAS. The good thing is that for the past week, we've had quite a number of commentaries from universities like UHAS, universities like UDS, as to how they think that the bill should look like. And so such commentaries are coming through, and we are hoping the other stakeholders, as far as the universities are concerned, to also make their commentaries so that we can make the bill a better one.
So let's come to one of those comments that has been made quite emphatically. And we just spoke to Professor Appiagyei Etia, who speaks to sections 5 through 12, talking about the composition of the University Council, among others, and says that the way the University Council will be set up, if this bill is to go through as it is now, constitutes an attack on academic freedom.
Well, Daniel, for the first time in the history and annals of this country, we are having a bill, or we are going to have a law that even defines the so-called academic freedom. Clause 41 to 46 thereabout. The professor should tell me in which law of any of our universities the date even define what academic freedom is. We have recognized the need to define academic freedom and what it is. In any case, Daniel, the reduction of the number from 15 to 9 is a proposal. And we also believe that per standards of good practice, in fact, in public administration, where corporate governance law is also very important, you have to make sure that in constituting a board, you have quite a number or quite a good number from external representation. So if the government or the Ministry of Education feels that let's have about 5 or 6, which are going to be government appointees, and the university disagrees, the best thing for them to do is to put it on paper, to make a commentary about it so that it can be inculcated in the final draft. After all, it is yet to go to Parliament for Parliament to even debate whether or not it is important to make the number 9 instead of the normal 15 that all of us know.
Now, Echo, you said that it would be necessary to have persons from outside the institution on the council. That's well and good. Should those persons be in the majority so that they have a controlling stake? And should those persons all be appointed by the president?
That is why I said that for the sake of probity, accountability, and transparency, standards of corporate governance law will advise you and tell you that if you want to ensure that transparency, good number of external representation should be constituted as far as the board is concerned. So if you want to have good number of your representation internally, and say that, for example, 6 should be internal representation, so be it. But in our thinking, that may not be able to bring out the sort of transparency and accountability that we so desire. That is why people are even misconstruing what their so-called academic freedom is. If you say academic freedom, I don't see how the government or the Ministry of Education is stampeding on the academic freedom of the various universities with this particular law, just because we have reduced it from 15 to 9 and now making the number higher as far as the government appointees are concerned. I don't get it that way.
So the concern that has been put forward is that because now government appointees will have a larger number than those representing the university, it indirectly means government now has a controlling stake on key decisions being made about the university.
But don't you also think that if the internal representations are also higher, it will not make it possible for accountability to, as it were, prevail the way we want it? So it depends on how you look at it. So if you really want to have accountability, transparency for external representation to, as it were, have an oversight responsibility in what is being done in our schools, then for us, the best way is to follow public administration and ensure that in constituting a board, external representation is quite higher as far as the numbers are concerned.
Echo, if I may ask, how has accountability suffered in the current system where government appointees do not outnumber the university's appointees?
Well, that's a very difficult question to answer. Reason being that at least if I will not send you far, issues of Kane West, issues of Winneba have taught us quite some lessons. However, it is not because of any of these instances that is why this bill has been brought to place. We feel that standards of good practices will require that we will have to make sure that at least if you want to ensure the accountability and the transparency that we so desire, the best thing for us to do is to ensure that we have quite a number of external representation on it. It is still a draft. It is work in progress. People may agree or people may disagree. Those who disagree, if it outweighs those who agree, then so be it. It is yet to go to Parliament. It's something that I don't think that we should really deliver the point.
Echo, I understand you acknowledge that it's a difficult question, but it's a question that my listeners would appreciate an answer to. How has the current system not assured accountability? What has informed government's decision to want to have this increased accountability?
Daniel, you see, I did not want to make certain comments, but just one example. You remember a loan that University of Ghana actually went for without recourse to government?
Which loan are you referring to?
There was a loan. Last year, it became topical. Enjoy FM even carried it. There was a loan that University of Ghana went for to build quite a number of schools. I don't know whether to do some expansion. But when the problem came, now it was the government that had to make sure that those monies are paid.
Okay, so I would love to have the details. The University of Ghana undertakes.
You may have to research about it.
Goes on. No. Echo. Take your time. You are mentioning a loan. The University of Ghana takes a number of loans. So I would love for you to be clear with the specific one, so that because there's a list of them, I won't want us to go through them one by one. So when you have the specific one, we can discuss it. But okay, let me because we are very, very hard pressed right now. But let me just find out simply. Right now, there are questions being raised by the academic community that they do not want the freedom that has thrived, and we've named this here from the early 90s to way before that, the freedom that has pertained on campus. They do not want that to be changed. What would you have to tell them now?
Daniel.
Yes.
Before 1992, do you know that it was the government that was appointing vice chancellors in our various public universities?
Yes.
So what is it? What's the point? I have already told you that it is this particular administration that has seen the need to define what academic freedom is in the draft bill. So I don't get the point.
Okay, let me ask this question then, since you referred to how we are harmonizing the bills of the acts governing the various universities with international best practice. If I may ask, which country have we found where government has a direct say in who sits on the majority of who sits on the universities' councils? Which country?
Well, as far as I'm aware, the drafters of this particular bill took very keen interest in the act, or if you like, the law that governs university in Kenya. So if you go to Kenya right now, the laws or the act that actually governs the universities, you find that quite interesting. And so we cannot really say that.
No, are you stating categorically that in Kenya government appoints majority of those on university councils? I need to have that clear statement from you.
I have not said so.
Okay.
I am saying that in drafting the bill, we had to resort to quite a number of countries as to how their public universities are regulated. And when we are talking about democracy, Kenya is one country that have really practiced democracy to the worthy of every nation, to the emulation of every nation. So I'm saying that at least in drafting, we did not just sit down there to draft this particular bill. We sat there and make sure that at least there are quite a number of countries that we will look up to, and Kenya is one of them.
Echo, I'm sorry, but I need an answer to the question. Which country has a system where government appoints majority members of a university council? If you can name that country for me. I'll be
I have in a way tried to tell you that I am unable to specifically tell you.
Thank you.
That the Ministry of Education actually looked at this particular country or country A to actually bring out that particular component. I'm unable to tell you.
I just wanted to establish that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I wish you were able to tell me though. But Echo Vincent speaks for the Education Ministry. He is the head of communications there. It's 18 minutes to the top of the hour. And I'm going to ask the two of you to share 1 minute. The two of you, please be disciplined. Raymond.
I'll try. And I think the PR of the Education Ministry is a very nice guy, without doubt.
He's a good friend of mine, actually.
Yes, and I want to believe that this is what he's told to come and say to us. Unfortunately, I find his reasons the main reason why we should not even waste our time. You don't fix a system which is not broken in the first place. When we wanted to coordinate and put together a Public Health Act and put all of those other separate bills in it now, we didn't introduce alien concepts. And for Christ's sake, we can't learn democratic process or whichever one from Kenya. So I'm just confused, and we need better answers. And again, it's because it's difficult to defend some of these things.
Okay.
That's why we can just put a bill somewhere. If you want a more coordinated one, we can discuss how to best approach it. What I see in this bill, what is being the defense so far, is more like talking about something, creating your own problems and trying to fix your own problems by creating more problems and confusing yourself in the end result. I am completely disappointed.
No. Let's be fair, Raymond. Let's be fair.
Yes, the Kenyan example.
No, I'm not referring to the Kenyan example. ECHO has said that they are taking inputs from various organizations.
My problem is whoever drafted this bill doesn't even understand the Ghanaian education system in the first place.
It's fine. Malik,
I think that the answers have not been convincing. It's a good thing that this is just a draft. I hope that in the final bill that will go to Parliament, all of these provisions that are seeking to put more power in the hands of the government will be revised. I think it is in the best interest of everyone to have that done.
Thank you very much, Malik Abastabo. So I've been speaking with Echo Vincent Asifwa. He speaks for the Education Ministry, and there's also Raymond Akwa is here. Malik Abastabo are here. So Raymond made a couple of interesting points. I'll use that to end it. He stated, first of all, that it will be difficult for us considering the fact that we have a better democratic credentials than the country of Kenya, and that is fact, considering the fact that we have changed government about 3 or 4 times in the past 25 years. It will be difficult for us to say that we are learning democracy, we are taking lessons from Kenya. Number one. Number two, the justification that was given as if we want to harmonize all the laws governing universities, similar was done in the health sector. What they did was that they just put all the laws together one after the other. They didn't change it. So that's one. We are going to take our last batch of messages, and when we come back, we speak to our friends from pardon me for that. If you're looking for a dependable internet service to meet and suit your needs, Telisol offers the fastest internet experience on 4G in the country, with coverage in Accra, Tema, Hoko, Florida, Takrady, and Bolgatanga. For the young people, Telisol has Telisol Wave bundles designed to cater for youth lifestyle, starting from as low as 2 cedis 50 pesos. Telisol has 4G internet service to meet business, homes, and on-the-go needs. This is 4G data not only on your phone and handheld devices, but also extended for use in homes and offices. Telisol 4G for everyone. Call Telisol to find out about your area and service availability. Their phone number is 0303-975-342 or 344, or send us an email on inquiry@telisol4g.com. We'll be back after these messages.
The world is a very special place.